Kenneth Eugene Smith has become the first death row inmate to be executed using nitrogen gas in the US state of Alabama. Now, Smith had been sentenced to death after being convicted of killing a preacher's wife in a murder for hire arrangement in 1988. So why has America moved to using nitrogen gas instead of lethal injection? In this video, I'm going to talk about what has driven America to use this new method of killing people who have committed terrible crimes, and why the use of lethal injection is causing problems for authorities executing death warrants. Welcome to my channel, Andy on Crime, where I normally talk about high-profile criminal cases and other aspects of criminal law in England and Wales. But as the death penalty is such an emotive issue on both sides of the pond, I thought I would just look into this issue to see why America is now using nitrogen gas. Now, I should say at the outset that personally I am against capital punishment, but that's not what this video is about. It is to explain why America has had to turn to nitrogen gas and what the changes mean. So the first question to answer is, what is the current problem with using lethal injection? And to do that, I'm going to firstly explain the process of using lethal injection. Now, in common lethal injection methods, a trio of chemicals is administered in 3 steps. Firstly, an anaesthetic renders the inmate unconscious. A second drug paralyzes them, and then a third drug stops their heart, causing death. Now, the problem is that the drugs used to conduct each of these 3 phases is becoming harder and harder for authorities to obtain as a result of pharmaceutical companies refusing to either make these or permit these drugs to be used in executions. Now, the UK and the European Union banned the export of chemicals used in lethal injections in 2011, and in 2016, American drugs giant Pfizer, the last open market source of lethal injection drugs, announced that it would no longer sell them to be used in executions. And the result of this is that states have been looking for other ways to execute prisoners and have resorted to considering alternative processes instead of lethal injection. Now, there's also been a number of lethal injection botched executions, including the first attempt to kill Kenneth Eugene Smith. Now, he was due to be executed by lethal injection in November of 2020, but a team of people repeatedly failed to properly insert an intravenous line. And this problem often occurs because medical ethics prevent doctors and other healthcare professionals from assisting in an execution, so injections are often administered by inexperienced prison workers. What then are the alternatives to lethal injection? Well, in addition to lethal injection, there are 3 other legal methods of executing prisoners in various states. These are electrocution, which is legal in 8 states, hanging, and this is the technical one, which is technically legal in New Hampshire, although they have outlined capital punishment for capital crimes occurring after 2019. So it's technically possible to execute someone convicted of a capital crime before 2019 to be hung, but in reality, this is unlikely to happen. Lethal gas, which is legal in 7 states, and firing squad, which is legal in 5 states. With regards to lethal gas, 3 states, Alabama, Mississippi, and Oklahoma, specifically authorize execution by nitrogen hypoxia, though only Alabama has issued a protocol for its use, and Alabama is the only state to have performed an execution by nitrogen hypoxia, and that was the case of Kenneth Eugene Smith. What is nitrogen hypoxia? Well, it is a method of execution whereby a respirator mask, so a gas mask, is placed over the inmate's face, and their breathing air is replaced with pure nitrogen gas. This deprives the individual of oxygen, leading to unconsciousness in a few seconds and ultimately causing death in a few minutes. So what then is the issue with using nitrogen hypoxia? Well, the biggest issue is that the impact on a person is almost unknown. Now, the 8th Amendment to the US Constitution prohibits cruel and unusual punishment, but the Supreme Court has ruled that the death penalty does not violate this right. The various experts have criticised the procedure as experimental, highlighting that many things can go wrong, and that whilst the procedure is supposed to be painless, this is merely a theory. There's not been many tests on individuals in using nitrogen hypoxia prior to it being authorised in the use of the execution of Kenneth Eugene Smith. Now, proponents of the method reject the criticism and point to examples of nitrogen hypoxia occurring in industrial accidents, for example, with the victims in those cases apparently becoming unaware of what is happening to them. And one study prepared for Oklahoma lawmakers considering whether to allow nitrogen gas to be used in executions cited research that concluded without oxygen present, inhalation of only 12 breaths of pure nitrogen will cause a sudden loss of unconsciousness. And the Alabama State Attorney General, Stephen Marshall, has called nitrogen gas perhaps the most humane method of execution ever devised. This is contradicted somewhat by witnesses to Kenneth Eugene Smith's execution, who have said that he did not lose consciousness within seconds as the gas is supposed to do, and that he inhaled the gas for many minutes, thrashing around all the while before finally succumbing and being killed by the gas. The use of nitrogen hypoxia will, I'm sure, continue to be debated, but the need for US states to find alternatives to lethal injection in order to execute inmates on death row means that this method will clearly be used to end more lives. And as more and more executions are performed using nitrogen hypoxia, a body of evidence as to its effectiveness will clearly be built up to analyse and ascertain whether or not it is indeed painless, as those proponents of the use of nitrogen hypoxia claim it is. So to summarise, the lack of availability of drugs to use in lethal injection executions has led some states to look around for alternative methods of executing their death row inmates. Nitrogen hypoxia is the latest method being looked at and has been used firstly by the state of Alabama. The use of nitrogen hypoxia is believed by some to offer a painless method of execution, though whether or not this is the case will unfortunately be discovered after more and more people are put to death and studies can be carried out. That's all for this video. If you do have any comments, then please drop them down below. If you did enjoy this video, then please do give it a like. And if you'd like to see more from me, then please do subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Take care.